Okay, I have like a totally out there question, but when there has been a breakdown in the relationship, whether there's been a betrayal or hurt or a breakdown in trust, and there's there has to be kind of this willingness to open your heart again, kind of give up your opinions or judgments or kind of like, this is just the way they are, right?
Yeah.
There has to be a willingness to let go of that uh, positionality.
Mhm. Yeah.
How, how do you do that work?
Well,
Yes.
I approach it from a narrative standpoint. So I use a lot of what's called narrative therapy, where I am listening for what are the dominant storylines or the dominant narratives that you have about your partner, about your relationship, about yourself as an entrepreneur. Like we all have narratives that are tied to certain parts of ourselves. And so I try to listen for what is a dominant recurring storyline that I'm hearing. It could be my partner's really inconsistent. They're inconsistent. They're not consistent. It could be what's another one? I really struggle to set boundaries. Like that is something that I struggle with. So that's a way that they experience themselves, and it can be really overgeneralized. And so what I do is I ask them first off, where else does this impact you? Like, because usually they're coming in talking about their relationship, and I ask, does this show up at work? And what I'm listening for is a space where that doesn't show up. So, like, for example, I might have a couple where she's saying he's not being consistent with XYZ. And I find that that's not an issue at work. I'm curious about it. And then I'm trying to sort of combat this black and white narrative that they may have about themselves or their partner. And another good example might be I've worked with so many people who say that they can set boundaries at work, but when it comes to their relationships and dating, it's so hard, or vice versa. And so I try to explore and first combat, hey, we're not going to like take that black and white narrative and own that, because this actually is evidence that that's not actually the case, because usually it's a problem saturated narrative that they're coming in with. So I'm looking for evidence to combat that, and then I'm exploring what's different in this situation. Why is it so hard for you to put boundaries up at work? What's going on there? Let me, versus when you're with your kids or with family, you're able to do that like hardcore. I've heard all these examples. So I'll kind of pause there. Does that make sense?